Robertson. Today we're going to talk about intelligent design. It's a theory, I guess, of, and it's a mixture of ideas, really. The theory that life or the universe cannot have arisen by chance and was designed and created by some intelligent entity. Most people think of intelligent design as spontaneous creation or spontaneous generation. In other words, at some point in time, it was just created. It was, poof, there you go. A lot of religions will have you believe that the cradle of life was in Mesopotamia, roughly 5000 BC. But the idea of spontaneous generation was dispelled somewhere around the 19th century, thanks to Louis Pasteur. The debate boils down really to Big Bang versus, well, poof. There you go. Now, some deists will say that intelligent design is inconsistent with deism, but I disagree, and I have to explain this, and really we have to go in depth here. So what do we know? What can we reason about the topic? Well, first and foremost, science would have you believe that life was brought to Earth by meteorites. There is some evidence now well, maybe, I guess the jury's still out, but possibly to support that idea. Alien fossils have been discovered in meteorites from outer space, according to claims by a NASA astrobiologist. So that will change the debate a little bit. Regardless, we know things just don't appear out of nothing. This has been proven time and time again. It's cause and effect, right? There is no proof whatsoever that life just shows up. So was there a design, per se? Probably. After all, and we kind of have to recognize this, everything in life seems to have a rhyme or a reason. So you look at the human body, for instance. It's absolutely amazing how it works. Scientists are still trying to figure it out. Doctors pretend like they have a clue, and I would imagine, in the grand scheme of things, if you flash forward 1,000 years from now, 100 years from now, whatever, the amount of information we're going to have on the human body is going to be amazing, and it's probably going to differ substantially to what we know or what we think we know today. Like I said, we're still trying to figure out how it all works. And we think, as soon as we think we know something, it's not long before we figure out we didn't know anything about the topic. So here's my take. The universe, and of course nature, was created by something. Something so massive and so amazing. And really what I refer to it as is that's God. The thing that we don't know, but we understand that it was created and we understand there's a process. That's God. Everything in the universe was created by God. The universe itself was created by God at one point. Somewhere down the line, however, a chain of events began. Once again, I reference this quite a bit, cause and effect. The cause of every effect is what we know to be as God. Now, the effect of everything we currently see, and can't see for that matter, that would be nature. Life is put into motion, and nature kind of dictates what occurs. And millions, probably trillions of things influence nature at any given time. It could be wind, life, death, war, disease, what have you, but it's other aspects of life that are dictating other forms of life, and everything's fighting for dominance. And that's really what it boils down to, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But the many galaxies, the planets, and of course complex life like bacteria or trees, animals, viruses, and even people. This is all nature. All effects and all due to nature. For instance, human life wouldn't be possible without grass. And that's once again been proven time and time again. Everything that we eat, the majority of the things that, even what we wear, this is all due to grass. And grass came before humans. And we know this through physical evidence. But even grass wasn't always there. The earliest firm records of grass pollen are from South America and Africa, between 60 and 55 million years ago. This date is after the major extinction events that ended the age of the dinosaurs and the Cretaceous period. And to break down the technical mumbo-jumbo here, grass was created because of a mutation from what the dinosaurs ate. They didn't eat grass, and I know you'll see probably a lot of pictures where dinosaurs are sitting around eating grass, even the plant eaters, but the grass wasn't there back then. It happened, and it's theorized more or less, once again, from a mutation from what they were eating. So we can observe through observation, which is kind of a redundancy in terms, but we do. I mean, we can view through observation. We watch things over a period of time, and we see that all of these things continually change. Grass, people, bacteria, viruses, whatever. Reason tells us that this change occurs over time and out of necessity. For instance, a simple example would be bacteria. Bacteria, many different types of bacteria, will figure out a way to grow, to survive, as we throw stronger and stronger antibiotics. You've probably heard about antibiotic-resistant bacteria. That wasn't always the case. They have figured out a way to survive. This is an evolution, if you will, of bacteria because of what we are doing to it. They're figuring out a way to survive. Once again, it wasn't instantaneous. This has happened over time. It doesn't happen just poof, there you go. It's because life influences. Life will find a way. You've probably heard that. It adapts. It gets stronger. Throughout history, species of all types have gradually developed over time. Now think about this. The earliest humans, between 700,000 and 200,000 years ago, males stood at an average of 5 feet 9 inches. Females, of course, were shorter. I'm going to kind of focus on the males here. In Asia, between 95,000 and 17,000 years ago, an average height was a little more than 3 feet. Neanderthals, man's closest relative, lived in Europe and Asia between 200,000 and 28,000 years ago, had an average height of 5 foot 5 inches. Now today, the average height is roughly 5 foot 8 inches. With many males, of course, exceeding that height. They're standing over 6 feet tall, quite a few of them. Was it designed this way? Not necessarily. But we know that very slowly, over time, nature, environment, nutrition, wealth, and of course genetics, all play a part in the gradual development of where we find ourselves today. And if we say that life is designed to get better as we go, well, then sure, maybe that is intelligent design. I would imagine that it's probably a little bit of both. But maybe, once again, this gradual development is part of the design. It didn't happen spontaneously, though. Once again, everything has to influence it in order for it to change. It's like lifting weights. You don't just all of a sudden get big one day. You have to work at it, and you have to influence your body, your life, in order for that change. If you're overweight, you have to influence that change, and people do it by running, changing their diet, whatever. And it doesn't happen spontaneously unless, of course, you get cosmetic surgery, but you know that's obviously not the point here. Humans didn't arrive just out of thin air. The dinosaurs didn't arrive just out of thin air. It took a very long time for the arrival of those species, human species, bacteria, whatever. It's taken time. 500,000 BC in Mesopotamia, you think, did Homo sapiens just poof and show up? Of course not. Now, and once again, of course not, because we know from physical record, we can see it with our own eyes. I mean, you can experiment it all you want, but it has been proven without a shadow of a doubt that we just did not appear. Now, some religions would have you believe that the cradle of life was in Mesopotamia 5000 BC, regardless of the fact that there's a ridiculous amount of evidence to show that there was civilization prior to 5000 BC. And once again, that plays into the whole deist perspective. I mean, we question with boldness everything. This doctrine is telling us that it's 5000 BC, but physical evidence, reason, actual thought is showing us another thing. You know, so we can reason that regardless of how amazing, or how amazingly, I should say, and how wonderful and complex life is, it doesn't just spontaneously occur. God has a different idea, I guess, and it doesn't happen in our time. It happens over a great deal of time, I should say. However, because of how unbelievably complex life is, and because our human minds haven't figured it out yet, we acknowledge the cause of the effect that we currently experience, and that acknowledgement obviously goes to God. And for the record, the gradual development of something is the definition of evolution. Once again, something we can see with our own eyes, as I referenced before, even just something as simple as height, bacteria, evolving to the surrounding stimuli. So I personally believe that God created everything. But I also believe that the natural laws of evolution were a part of the design God put forth in nature. We recognize the complexities of living organisms. We should anyway, if we don't. But I also believe that the natural laws of evolution were a part of the design. We can't really create life ourselves. We can mimic it. We can create life using the tools that we were provided by God. And we can see organisms change over time for the betterment of that species. I honestly think both schools of thought are correct in part. Both schools obviously need to do a little bit more research. Obviously I don't have all the answers, which is why I acknowledge God. I don't think that life or the universe arose by chance. I also think both were designed and created by some intelligent entity. It's simply too complex to fully comprehend at this point. My primitive human mind, can acknowledge the fact that there was something massive that occurred that created all of these wonderfully complex systems. The universe, the galaxies, the suns, the trees, for crying out loud, bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungus. We can't create it, and they're amazingly diligent, I guess, as far as their life cycles go. They've been around a lot longer than the human, and of course I'm talking about the universe and bacteria at this point, but they've been around a lot longer than humans. So we have to acknowledge that. But where it all stands today, and what we really know, is that it did not occur by intervention, and it didn't happen spontaneously. It happened over a great deal of time and was the result of the rules of nature, the laws put forth by God to govern life. So why deism? How does that fit in? Well, because we can't subscribe, if you're a deist, or I should say as a deist, we have a hard time subscribing to doctrine that says, or I should say blatantly contradicts what we can reason, what we can see, what we can rationalize, what we can experiment, and what we can experience as truth. Many religions would have you believe that, well, I would say not many, but quite a few would have you believe that, you just showed up. Humans just showed up. But if you recognize the magnificence of life and the rules of nature and how it affects life, then we acknowledge God, but we reject dogma that contradicts what we can reason in our own eyes. It's basic cause and effect, the three-rule method. You're going to hear me reference this a lot in my videos. Is basic logic, cause and effect, and Occam's razor. Of course, the old theory that, or philosophy, I should say, that don't over multiply it. The simplest answer probably is the right one, and that's where we end up with deism. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been some insight into intelligent design. Be a part of the discussion. Leave your comments and be a part of the discussion. I am David Robertson. I'm a devout deist. This is Devout Deism. We'll see you next time.